Okay, are you ready? We're missing people. Who
Pretty
is
sure they
that?
just look.
Yeah. Oh, peekaboo. Missing one person. Hmm. What was for lunch at school?
Macaroni something.
It was the beef noodle, the beef
Oh.
pasta thing.
Like the one with like very little sauce. I just I really
Yeah, with
miss
the
eating at
cheese.
school with the cheese. Yes, over it, the blanket of cheese. Yes, if you when you guys have tater tots, please don't let me know. I'm just gonna be really sad. All right, let's get everybody on slide 2, and then we'll start our presentations. You guys are all earning 10 easy classwork points for this activity, so I'm hoping that you guys are good to go. All right, go.
Would you like to start us off, Kai?
Oh, okay. So the first quote that we're sharing is, "Mr. Montag, you were looking at a coward. I said nothing. I'm one of the innocents who could have spoken up and out when no one would listen to the guilty, but I did not speak and thus became guilty myself." So Professor Faber said this, and he's calling himself a coward because he now realized everything that was happening before, like all the oppression and all that.
Yeah, and he thinks that like since he didn't speak out, it's kind of like the mentality of how if you're just a bystander, you're still at fault as much as the people who are doing the crimes. Well, not like as much, but you're still very bad and you're not equal to the people who are actively speaking out.
Yeah. And I couldn't really think of a good thing to compare to, but from last year reminds me of the glass castle because the children of the family could have spoken up about the abuse and mistreatment they were receiving, but instead they complied and got abused some more.
Yeah,
When they could
CPS
have
came
went
to
to
their
CPS,
door.
the CPS came to their house, but they
They were
never
like,
said anything. So that's their fault.
Do you remember? Do you guys remember when Jeanette told her parents that the gross uncle and grandma did stuff, and then the mom and dad just kind of brushed them over, like, nah.
Well,
Yeah. Wow.
yes.
All right. Don't want to throw up too much. Okay. So, just as a side note, like we have these moments throughout the week, whatever. Every once in a while, these moments will pop up when you see something wrong, right? And you choose to stay in your lane, right? It happened to me last week, actually. I was at the bank and this old guy was kind of hitting on the teller lady. Yeah. And he was like, it was so gross. And I was like two teller ladies over, and he was just like, "Why you married? Why, baby, you married?" Like, ew. Why I can marry you if you're not married. Just like talking to this lady, and I was just like, and I first, oh my gosh, you guys. First, I was like you. Then I got mad because it was like, this lady is at work. She shouldn't have to deal with this kind of talk. Like imagine if like your parents were at work and somebody talked to them like that. You'd be like, ill, right? And so, of course, I don't say anything because I'm like, I'm going to stay in my lane. And so I just muttered under my breath to my teller lady, like, oh my gosh, that's why we work. So we don't have to deal with people like that. Right. And she's laughing and it's, whatever. Yeah. And then he continues to like badger her. And then, like, oh, that's a nice shirt. Like, just gross. And I think about it today, and it's been like almost a week. And I just wish I had said, "Uncle," because he's old. It was like, "Uncle, should I back up?" Like, just even something, because obviously she couldn't say anything because she was at work. She couldn't just throw up her tittle bun and just be like, brah, back up. But I could have, because I don't work at that bank, and I wish I had done that, because I don't know. My little sister works at Taco Bell, and she said people say gross stuff to her, and she's like, a senior this year. And I'm like, ew. Like, ask her for her number. I'm like, really? She's like, yeah, but we can't really like say stuff back. So I just roll my eyes and close the door, close the window for like the drive-through. And I'm like, ugh, I don't know if it's worth it. Anyway, that's why you have to speak up. That's what I'm going back at to the like the quote, right?
Your
So
sister's a senior
yeah,
in high school?
yeah. She's our baby sister, our last one.
Hmm.
She's at her school, right? Yeah. Lee.
I do not know who that is.
Kendo Kabatu. Yeah, she's my sister. Anyway, like there's some certain times where you should stay in your lane, and that's what I was thinking too. Like, and I'm not making an excuse, but I understand that, society right now is in this weird position, right? This weird state of like in your face. And I'm like, oh, maybe I shouldn't say anything before this man yells at me. And then what, right? I'm not putting up my dukes. Anyway, so pick and choose your battles. All right, slide 3. Let's move on. Who is this? Alicia and Carson.
So the question is, what 3 things are missing from Guy Montag's understanding about books? And we found these on page 81. When Faber, yeah, when Faber and Montag were talking, he says that with books you need quality of information, which basically means like books are full of life and like they have lots of details, but you need to find the right book.
Mm-hmm.
Leisure to digest it, which means you need to have the free time to read and understand the book. And on page 80, I think, Montag says that he has like time to read, and Faber explains that it's not just reading, but you need the time to be able to actually like think about what you're reading and understand it. And the third thing is the right to carry out actions based on what is learned from the first 2 that I mentioned. And I think that kind of just means that in order to like fully understand what's going on and what you're reading, or like understand anything, you need to be able to think about it and talk about it openly without the fear of like being burned.
Love it. So on point. Yeah, number 1, we can read all we want, but if you don't go back and reflect on it, then what is that time used for? And then number 3, this is like why we're free, right? This is why we should be able to do what we please with our knowledge, hopefully in a positive way, right? Carson, did you have anything to add?
I'm gonna say the third one, but I didn't want to cut her off. But I think it's important to like understand what you're actually reading and be able to comprehend. And like she said, carry out actions based on what you learn. So yeah.
Okay. All right. Let's see. Number 4, slide 4. Go ahead.
Okay, so the first quote I picked was on page 83, and Faber said this, and it says, "Oh, there are many actors alone who haven't acted Pirandello or Shaw or Shakespeare for years because their plays are too aware of the world." And I picked this one because it shows that they don't they block out any source that has basically the truth. So like books, obviously, and displays are not being played because it displays the truth of the world, which is basically what is wrong. And the people don't like to hear what is wrong, and they just like to stay in their own comfort zone of being nothing, I guess. So they just stay in their comfort zone of being non-intellects where they don't think really of what can be changed. So they um, don't listen to the books or the plays, and they just listen to the walls of not real.
The mindless pleasure, right? Very good. Okay, next.
So the other quote that I picked is also on page 83, and it says, "Remember, make history." That quote means that they're like for entertainment and like, not that important. Also later, in the book, it says that they provide a circus by setting buildings on fire now and then, and people would gather to watch the blaze. So I picked this quote because it is kind of important to know uh, more about the firemen and what people would reflect and think about them. So, yeah.
Okay, so again, mind numbing behaviors, right? Very low thinking, right? If there's thinking at all, lots of distraction, right? Hey, let's start a fire so that people have something to talk about, right? Has nothing to do with anything, just a fire, right? It's kind of like when there's an accident and we slowly drive by and we're like, what's going on, right? Because we want to see whose fault it was, right? Or if it was somebody something like that, right? We just can't help ourselves. All right, slide 5. Ooh,
So Mahaoi.
yeah, the
Okay.
natural maha'oiness in us.
Okay, so our quote was, "I don't want to change sides and just be told what to do. There's no reason to change it if I do that." Page 88. So Montag said this, and he said that he said this because he was pretty much doing the same thing with or without Faber. So yeah. Okay, Lakia, you can do your thing.
Okay, so we related it to the current day because we're like, as a native Hawaiian perspective, because he was just, or Montag was just listening to like the captain, and he was just like going with the flow and doing whatever. He wasn't really thinking much, and he didn't, or we can relate this to the current day as a native Hawaiian because it's kind of like everything that surrounds them is pretty much just in English. There's not really much effort put into the Hawaiian language. And so basically, just like Montag doesn't want to continue to just listen to people and just follow what he was told. Like as a Hawaiian, you just need to try to be independent and keep the language, I guess.
So in the other class before you guys, there was this mention of Dr. Yoakum's class. Is anybody in that class? Oh, very good. So he talks about this other, right? What does he mean by that? Zeke, do you have something to say about that? What is the other? So everybody knows.
So it's kind of like, you know how they have white people and black people. In this sense, the other is like the black people or people of different colored skin, of different colored pigment.
Right. So I study how to be a better teacher to you guys, specifically. Ignore that. Specifically to kids who might be the other, right? And obviously, right, we're the other. So I study about how to be the best teacher for you guys. Why? Because if I present information in a certain way, I might speak to you guys while forgetting, right? By forgetting the importance of your story, if that makes sense to you. The other, right, has been underrepresented and misrepresented, especially when, like, you know, anthropologists come in, right, to figure out what happened with this native society, right? How come they're all gone, right? Some of you guys remember reading Collapse last year in Kumwecheveria's class, the disappearance of these people on this island. These anthropologists come in, try to make sense of a native people and what, right? They don't really know. They don't understand the Mo'olelo. They don't even understand the language, right? To become marginalized like that sends so many damaging messages, right? And so for us, yeah, we're reading something like Fahrenheit, right? Which is as like American lit as possible, but we still can relate it to our own stories, right? We still can relate it to being recognized as being an other, and how do we fit, right? So I talked to La'akea and Apolehula about this, and it's talking about being able to walk in two worlds, right? Your cultural side, and also like the side that maybe you're going to enter when you go to college, when you go away, right? A lot of you guys want to go away, right? Okay, yeah, most definitely. Some of you guys don't ever want to turn around, right? And come back, right? Yes. And that's totally fine. And that may be the time when you realize, wow, Hawaii is very unique, and I'm glad I was raised there, something like that, right? But this whole sense of the other, if me as a Kumu, if I don't focus on, yes, there is this other, and why not bring the other into the focus, right? Into the center, right? If I don't do that, then why am I teaching at Kamehameha schools, right? So for you guys, I hope that you never feel like you're the other, because you're not. You're the somebody, okay? You are not the marginalized. You are in the margin, and because you're writing in the margins. Okay. All right, moving on. Jumping off my soapbox. Number 6. This is Trinity and Blaze. Where did Blaze go? Okay, so let's look at this, because they're not here. So let's look at slide 6. Everybody look at slide 6. So obviously we're like, where's the third screen, right? And where is she gonna put the fourth screen if this is their living room, right? This quote right here, it's our third marriage each, and we're independent. Be independent, we always said. If I get killed, just go right ahead and don't cry, but get married again and don't think of me. So what they came up with was this. This says a lot about their society, because it almost gives off the idea that they don't really care that much for each other. Fahrenheit 451 warns the readers about what happens when a society does not find things in life meaningful. Okay, so very interesting, right? In your notes, I would suggest writing the word disposable, right? People are disposable in Fahrenheit. I'll just get another one, right? The question that comes up is, where is this guy going to get killed? Why, right? And so as you guys know, in all dystopian stories, there's a war going off somewhere, right? District 12, District 2, right? I volunteer as tribute, right? So there's always some kind of war going on. And what do we have, right? We have this meaningful life, meaningless life. Okay, slide 7. Who's that? Krisha and Camila.
Okay, so at first, we're supposed to find like an important quote from page 97 through 96 through 97. And we started off with the quote, I knew it, that's what I wanted to prove. I knew it would happen. I've always said poetry was tears, poetry was suicide, and now crying and awful feelings, poetry and sicknesses. That is all mush. Now I have proved it to me. So he had read, so Guy had read the poem to Miss Bowles,
Yeah.
Mrs. Phelps, and Mildred, and he was trying to prove a point that poetry like gave like a deeper meaning and understanding, and it made sense because they claimed that it didn't make sense. So he wanted to prove like it meant something, just not like surface meaning. You had to think more in depth of that. And Miss Phelps was crying at the end of the poems because, you know, what may have happened. And then eventually we talked about the poem, like the title of the poem called The Sea of Faith. And Molly, you can talk about that. Also, like saying that it's probably like a metaphor. And so like the sea can be like destructive. And so they're like drowning in all of this stuff. And so they like really don't know, like, I feel like they don't know what to believe at this point because like there's just so much happening around them.
Mm-hmm. So I don't know if you guys saw this weekend, but the waves are humongous. They were crashing before the wall and then breaking over the wall. It was really nuts to be out there. But yeah, the sea of faith, right? Maybe it's really unstable. Maybe it's rocky when it really should be this like the bedrock of your core of existence, basically, right? Interesting title. Okay. All right. Last but not least, slide 8.
Oh shoot, is that us?
No.
Oh, okay. My bad. Ava, she can explain what's like going on first, and I'll read the quote.
Okay, so what's happening is we're looking at pages 102 to 103, and it's when Montag had gone back to work after like his sick leave or something, and he's just under like a lot of pressure with everything because there's Faber listening in the earpiece and just like everything that's happened to him in the past day or two, and Betty's just almost interrogating him or trying to get into his head and confuse Montag to see if he'll say anything. Yeah.
Okay. And the quote that we decided to use to like kind of summarize everything that has gone through these 2 pages is when Betty is trying to.
His name is Beatty, Captain Beatty.
Yeah, my bad. I keep mispronouncing his name.
Yeah, it's okay. Montag.
So this is Beatty. He's talking about his dream that he had, and he says that. Hold up, let me find that. I kind of lost it for a second. Oh yeah, there we go. Beatty chuckled, and you said, quoting, "Truth will come to light, murder will not be hid long." And this was page 103, and we kind of chose this because what Montag is really trying to do is bring the truth to light and bring it to the shared focus of the community that they have. And Beatty is denouncing everything that he's saying and combating it. And that was a Memmian word, by the way, denounce. And so that's basically what Beatty is trying to do throughout these 2 pages.
Yeah, he is totally trying to instigate, right? He's totally trying to bait him, right? He's totally trying to get him up over the edge, right? In the chat, let's go ahead and blast the chat. Where do they end up at the end of part 2? Okay. Ho'oheno. The house. Thank you, Kaylee. Yeah. Oh, yes. Nice one, Alicia. Yeah. Okay. So let's make a prediction. What's going to happen with his house? Oh,
Wait, Kumo.
yes, Lakia.
So,
Ho'oheno.
do they have to look for the books before they burn the house, or do they just burn the house?
Oh, I think they have to look for the books first. I mean, if not,
Isn't the houses like burn proof or something? They said.
so what then?
So that it just burns everything that's not burn proof.
So the irony, right, of that is just that it's more like symbolic. That you're just burning the books, basically.
And then they gotta find somewhere else. Oh gosh.
Yeah, don't even. I know. Right. Lakia. Okay. Alrighty. Very good. Before we move on, I need you guys to add this to your 10th grade English folder in your drive so that you have it, so that you guys can study your for your quiz for next week. Okay, everybody good? Add it. Do you know how to add it? No. It says move, that little folder with the arrow. Click on that and then move it to your drive. Sure, Eva. Mute. All right, let's move on. So now what we're going to be doing, which is I can't wait. All right, so let's go ahead and get into the writing a dystopian short story. Okay, so for Fahrenheit 451, we're going to start brainstorming our short story. And we're going to look at this. Oh, by the way, I did think about you guys this morning while running because I almost got run over. And then I thought of Clarice. And then I thought, oh my gosh, I have to teach what would have happened if I got run over. So I cut my run short this morning and, it was raining. And I thought, oh, this car is going to go straight. And so I just ran across the street right by Long's. And I just ran across the street and I was like, oh, this car is going to go. And the car ended up going into the turning lane to turn into Long's. And he started skidding his car because he thought I was going to run in front. I wonder if he thought I was messed up. And then he started slipping towards me and I was like, oh my goodness. And then I just waved him like, I'm sorry. And then he let go his brakes and then he kept going. But yeah, near death. And I'm sorry, I'm never ever going to cut my run short ever again. Krisha's like, yeah, you needed to run a little bit longer, Kumu. We don't cut the corners. So crazy. I thought about it after it happened. I immediately thought about Clarice. I was like, oh my gosh, she got run over. I'm not trying to be Clarice. Okay, anyway, you guys good? You guys made your copies? That was just a little commercial break, mind break, mental break. Did I scream? Maybe. Okay. All right, so let's go through this. I'm going to go through the objectives because you guys need to also add in one of your own objectives. So the objectives for this short story is that you guys are going to identify a cautionary tale of our modern times. You get to choose that, okay? Pick out something that you feel is super wrong about society right now, okay? Pick it. You're going to apply narrative writing skills, and you guys understand that narrative writing skills is way different from informational writing or argumentative writing. Okay, so we are taking a break from your CERs and we're going to write a short story. So a couple of things to point out would be the descriptive writing and dialogue. We need to work on that. So as you guys point out your dialogues, right? You guys work on your dialogues. You're going to make sure that whatever characters are talking, it's purposeful. there is a point, right? So like we meet Faber. Faber and Guy have this amazing conversation, right? About what it's like to be a bystander and being a coward, right? And then there, in turn, there's a call to action. This is why you don't do that. This is why you don't just stay in your lane all the time, because sometimes it's not safe there. Sometimes you do have to say, uncle, try back up, right? So anyway, the next objective is dialogue, okay? We're gonna learn how to punctuate if it kills us. Okay. Next, go ahead and write your own objective. Don't mention anything above because it's already been stated. So what is something you guys want to improve on? What is something that in your writing you want to become better at doing? Okay. Write it in there. Type, type, type. Yeah. Apole hikiula. Hurry up. Okay. In the chat, go ahead, copy and paste your objective that you wrote. Nice. Kaylee, we're going to have to focus you. I know you want to like point out every single social injustice. We're going to have to stay focused. It's a short story. Okay. Improve writing flow. Yeah, the coherency is really important. There's been times where I've written a short story and it took me like half an hour because it just all came out all one time. And then there's times where you just have to like take a break, walk away and come back to it. Is 8 pages? No, I'm looking at it being no more than like 4 to 5 pages. Okay. I'm waiting for everybody to put something in there. Yeah. Watch my attitude when I'm, what do you mean? Do you get all irritated?
No. But I got a comment one time to watch my attitude. So
What do you mean?
yeah. I think it's just my punctuation marks that I messed it up. So,
Oh.
yeah.
Okay. All right. Next, let's move on to the next slide. Slide 3, ideas on cautionary tales of our modern times. Whew. We're going to just write down as many as you can point out at this point. So what is it? Do you think money ruins the world? Yikes, right? Just write phrases. You don't have to write, 8-page short story. Kaylee, I don't want to hold you back. So if you want to go for it, then go for it, okay? And maybe you'll publish it one day. And then you can like thank me at the end or something. No, just joking. I don't care. All right. Cautionary tales. Go ahead, copy what you've written and put it in the chat. Maybe we're not trying to like copy each other. What we're trying to do is stir some thinking here. Grudges. Ooh, yes. Do I really need that third pair of running shoes? Greed, escapism, yeah. Every year, Every time I reread Fahrenheit, I'm like, oh my gosh, am I turning into Mildred? That's like my worst nightmare. Okay. Beauty standards. You guys know, you guys could be the cutest thing on earth, but if your insides are ugly, oh. Ooh, interesting. Interesting. Very interesting. Right. What would that world look like, Alicia? Imagine if there was just one like gender. Right. That would be kind of interesting. You wouldn't be able to like put each other down because you're like, but we're the same, you know? Yeah. Economic inequality, interesting. Ooh. Glorification of mental issues as opposed to normal. Is glorification the word, Kaylee?
It's like people in like our generation, a lot of people will be like, oh my God, guys, I'm so depressed.
Oh.
Like, I'm not saying that it should be normalized, but it shouldn't be idealized. It's a big thing in our like generation to have a competition to see whose life is the worst. To be honest here.
I can see that. I'm trying to choose my words carefully because there are mental health issues, but at the same time, not everything is a crisis. You are right. Yeah, like it's like the cool thing to be emo, or it's the cool thing to have turmoil. And if you don't have turmoil, yeah, there you go. So you see, this is what it's like when you share out your ideas, right? Romanticizing. It's not romantic. It is not romantic. You guys have no idea how many times I've cried as a teacher when I find out one of my students is at the hospital because they tried to hurt themselves. Yeah. Like it's happened multiple times and I couldn't believe it. And then I think, did I miss something? So I think that's a really interesting point. Could you imagine if you wrote a story that everybody was just happy all the time? Christian's like, that's my life. No, just joking. I'm just joking. Okay. Yeah, totally. What if we had a society where nobody had that like resilience? What would that discussion look like? Right? What would that interaction with people look like? Right? If you weren't tough or had that grit, right? That woe is me kind of outlook. That'd be really hard. It would not be a very healthy place to be. Okay, so as you guys are typing in more cautionary tales, like I saw Kai mention like a two-party system. Please talk a little bit more about that. That's good.
Oh, I just like how everyone in America is so divided with just only two parties, but I feel like there should be a lot more because not sometimes you don't fit into either one.
Right.
So you have to like force yourself to believe in like one party.
Or just choose the lesser of both evils, right? I mean, it's just like, really? You're telling me out of the bazillion people in the United States, there's just these two we got to choose from? Yeah, it's very interesting. It's a very interesting point that you brought up, Kai. Bread and Roses party. Can you explain that more? I feel like I'm getting old and I don't know these references.
It's a political party that ran this year.
Really? Is Kanye West a part of that?
No, he was independent.
Mhm. I
He
like
was
that.
in a birthday party. I think he's in a birthday party. That's his party.
Hmm. What do they call? What is his nickname? Like Nay, and there's like a two letters. I don't remember. Yay, yeah. Yee or yay. Blocking someone. Oh, nice. Yeah, like the Green Party. Okay, very cool. Howie Hawkins. Is that a political leader of the Green Party?
Yeah, he ran this year, and I feel really bad because he got like 0.2% of the votes, but he was such a like cute old man and like is advocating for the earth.
Oh, wow. Neat. Cool. So, I mean, like, yeah, the election cycle, the election is kind of like at the forefront of many of our minds. I mean, that would be a really interesting dystopian story to write with that kind of political climate. Yeah. Okay, next, let's move on to slide 4. Slide 4 is talking about setting, time and place. Okay, so you're just gonna, again, this is like brainstorming. Okay, so come up with as many ideas, details, and then you're just gonna go searching on a Google search for maybe a picture that kind of looks like where you're talking about. Okay, and if you can't imagine it, then maybe you have to draw your own picture. You can bring your own picture to slide number 4. Okay, as you guys move on to the slides, I just want to point this out because what I'm going to do is we're going to just work quietly because it's now what? We have 10 more minutes, so I don't want to take up too much of your time, but look at slide number 5, characters. So we have this minor, major character. If you guys think about it, like you can't have a guy without a Captain Beatty, right? You can't have a Guy Montag without a Clarice. So you can't have a Faber without a guy. Okay, so just make sure when you guys create your characters that they're kind of the yin to their yang. Yeah, make sure that they feed off of each other. The more details, the easier this will be for you guys. Next, the conflict. Come up with several different scenarios of what's going to drive your story, right? So we know that burning books, right, is the conflict, or censorship will help drive the story by what, right? By exposing the problems of current society, that blah, blah, blah. Okay, so conflict, you got to focus on the conflict because without the conflict, you're not going to move your story forward. Okay, let's move on to the next slide. Now what we do is we're jumping into the plot triangle. We're going to bring it back to 6th grade, maybe even 5th grade, where you remember the plot triangle and the person climbs up to the climax and then like walks his way back down. So you're just going to really focus here on the parts. This first part on exposition is the beginning of the story. How do you want to open the story? Are you going to just focus on the details of the setting? Or is the character going to say something that's really odd and captivating? Or are you going to mention the conflict? Or are you going to start with the end? I love starting with the end. Can you start with the end? Not everybody, right? I appreciate it also, like, we mentioned the word albeit last week. And a number of you guys used it. And I was like, yeah, as I'm grading your guys' work. Yeah. Okay. So same like this. I'm mentioning some of you guys should start at the end, but not all of you guys. Okay. All right. And then, yeah, that's the rest of the slides. So work on this. The more you guys brainstorm, the better. Okay. If you guys have a question or you want to bounce ideas off of me or whatever, or just run it by, you can email me if you're thinking about 2 of them, and then maybe I can help you sort things out. Okay, but other than that, I'm going to stop talking and let you guys go so you guys can work on your things. Don't forget you have part 3 to read and then take notes. Okay. All right. If you don't have any other questions, you guys can get out of here. Alicia, though, I want to talk stories with you just for a bit. Okay. Bye, you guys.
I have a question.
Okay, apole kula.
So the notes, it's not quotes. It's just notes about what we
Up
read.
to you what you want to do. You want to do the post-it notes thing? Just make sure you take notes, okay?
Okay.
All right. Yeah. Bye. Tia?
I was just thinking about it. A cautionary tale, is it always like bad?
Well, the word caution says that it's warning, right, of something that might be happening now.
Okay.
What are you thinking about?
I was thinking, like, what if I ended up making it good? Like, you take the bad and they work through it. But
Yeah, I think it might work. This book doesn't end bad, right? So
think about it.
yeah. Okay.
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 Thanks.
All right, bye. Just real fast, I was just because I was looking at your you said she and they, so am I using the correct pronouns? I mean, you need to like educate me here because I don't want to be insensitive.
You can use either pronoun. I kind of prefer they them, but I know that it's like really hard for people to, or like some people they find it really hard to use those. So I'm okay with she. I'm like kind of okay with any pronouns, but like they them is preferred, I guess.
Okay. No, I just want to be sensitive because we have all these like, you know, stickers and posters all up on our school walls, and if I don't follow through on that, then it's all BS, right? So okay. I'll try to remember that, especially because as an English teacher, you know, the whole like subject verb agreement and then like the pronoun, I get it. Okay, but all good. You're not my first student, so it doesn't matter, but just wanted to make sure. And then with your theme of your story, what are you thinking about? Because I feel like you're on the verge of writing something really crazy, like crazy good.
So what I wrote was like the need for bipartisan relations in America, like a civil war between those who believe in climate change and those who don't, and how like in the end it's still affecting the climate, but they're so caught up in like the war that they don't realize what they're doing. Sexualizing women and like putting them down instead of teaching men, and then within that like talking about like the concept of virginity. And I was thinking like banning like in their world they banned like adjectives kind of because they don't want to like call people pretty or ugly.
Wow. Yeah. That would be really cool. That's so like Harrison Bergeron-ish. That would be really cool if there were no descriptors.
I just saw a butterfly in my garden and then I was like, oh, that's really pretty. And then I was like, oh, like what if the story opened with a little girl and she sees a butterfly in her garden and she's like, oh mom, that looks so pretty. And then the mom is like, you can't say that.
Yeah. And then you wonder how people would react in that dystopian world once they start realizing that maybe beauty is different for all people and it's still good. Like I don't know how to explain that, but something very interesting. Yeah. Email me if you.
And not believing younger people can have issues.
Say that again.
I put for like other ideas was homophobia, equity, and not believing that younger people can have issues.
Oh, right. Yeah. because younger people can have issues. Yeah. Ooh. Okay. I feel like you're gonna try to fold all of it in together, but I need you to like figure out what's worth this short story, because the shorter the story and more impact, the better. Okay, so maybe you have to zoom out of all these like specific topics and then come up with something more general, and then you can lead people to realizing that that's related to that and that's related to that. But I don't know how you're going to do that because you have really good topics. So, or maybe one topic that you chose will relate to all your other topics. So that could be done in a dialogue, like, oh, what, right, that's like this, right? Exactly, that's like this, roll eyes, right? Something like that. Cool. All right, right on. I can't wait to see what you're going to do. Okay, have a good week. Bye.